was fun for me to see those kids excited, especially some of those kids who don't play a lot or who got very little play time in playoffs. Everybody was just buying into it. And I was telling Josh this after each playoff game, those kids, and I tried to touch base with each of those kids at some point. I'd say, hey, really happy that you're on this ride, that you stuck with it, that you could have said, you know what, I'm done. Playoffs, I'm not going to get play time. I'm out of here. But every single one of them stuck with us, stuck with the team. And even the parents, and talking to the parents, like, they are having a blast. They are enjoying this ride. The fact that they get to say they were on this journey to the state final is something that they're always going to remember. And that's a team sport. You know, that's one big family having a good time.
Welcome to the Sold on Drip podcast, your ultimate destination for all things Dripping Springs. I am your host, Bill Cafferetta, and we are here to celebrate what makes this town the best place to live in the Texas Hill Country. It's amazing people. Join us as we sit down with local residents and business owners to hear their stories, learn why they love this community, and are proud to call it home. We will be spotlighting their businesses, find out why they choose to serve the people of Dripping Springs, and dive into the local events that bring our community together. Our finger is always on the pulse, and we will be keeping you informed about how our rapid growth and development is impacting our schools, resources, and the local real estate market. Whether you're a lifelong resident or you have just discovered Dripping Springs, you will soon know why we are all sold on drip. Thanks for joining and enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Sold on Drip podcast. I'm your host, Bill Cafferetta, and I'm here with some special guests this week. We're the high school soccer coaches, Coach Hill and Coach Kiaune. They just had a pretty amazing run in the state playoffs this year and made it all the way to the state championship game. So we want to learn a little bit about them and hear about this season and talk all about drip lacrosse. So fellas, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you love about Dripping Springs, and then we'll dive into this season that we just had.
All right. Well, I'll start, I guess. My name is Josh Hill. It's my 6th year to be the head boys soccer coach at Dripping Springs. Prior to that, I was a head coach up in North Texas, Wichita Falls, for 10 years. So been coaching high school soccer for a while, but really, really glad that I made the move. You know, it was kind of we took family went out on a limb. My wife also was a teacher. So 6 years ago, there was a job opening and went for it, and we've loved living here ever since. So definitely happy to be here and think it was a great move for us.
What about you, Billy?
And my name is Billy Kiaune. 4th year here under Josh Hill as the varsity assistant. My wife and I, Becky, just moved to Dripping about almost a year ago today, and we loved it. Was living in Austin prior to that. I was coaching up at Round Rock School District at Stony Point High School and coaching club soccer as well. And I had some buddies of mine who said that Josh Hill down in Dripping was a really good guy and that he needed an assistant. So I met with Josh and interviewed and offered me the spot. So I made the jump to Dripping, and it's been a fantastic ride and environment so far. Again, we just moved here, so it just shows you how much we enjoy Dripping right now.
So fun fact, my last year teaching at the high school before resigning after having our babies, I actually was a co-teacher with Coach Kiaune, teaching government, which was a subject I knew very little bit about, but was special ed certified, and it worked out for us.
Yes, and then we find out that our wives knew each other.
Yeah, our wives knew each other from way back.
So
way back.
Small world. It
is. Well, that's what happens when you live in a small town.
Sure.
So, guys, I know you guys had a heck of a season that you just wrapped up. The culminated in a championship game, having moved up from 5A to 6A. But I want to hear about the season and kind of how that went for you, what that looked like, and from top to bottom of what it takes to kind of have that kind of success. I know there was a lot of success last year as well, but moving from 5A to 6A, when we had that realignment this year, was probably something that wasn't necessarily seen as being able to maintain that success on the outside. But you guys obviously have a different perspective, so we'd love to hear from you and see what that looked like.
It wasn't easy. I mean, we definitely had some struggles, especially early on. I think we started the year, I think we were 2-8-2, and bottom of the district for the first, probably fourth of the district. And then, as a young team, like we had 9 new starters this year from last year's group, but the kids they battled, man. They just never quit, and we kind of hung in there. There's plenty of chances this year that we could have packed it in and said, this just isn't our year, blah, blah, blah. But these kids kept working, and we kept getting better. And then, what you talked about earlier, we were talking about culture. I think the culture here is just a strong winning tradition. And so, these kids believe in themselves, and we had to win the last 2 games of district to get into the playoffs. So the playoff shirts didn't come in time because we couldn't order them, because we didn't know for sure. The parents didn't know for sure. So we're glad we go to that first game, and then we just started playing. We played a 1 seed as a 4 seed, and ended up winning in penalties, score with a couple minutes left in overtime to tie it up. And then from there, this belief just developed, I think, in these kids. Like, they were confident going in, but just that first playoff victory, they're like, guys, we've been here before. And then we just went on this roll and ended up in the state finals, losing 2-1 to Katy Seven Lakes. So
that game,
but not easy.
That game was your Westwood game, right?
The Westwood was the first playoff game. Yep.
So even before that, so you had to win 2 to get in, and then you have to sustain this throughout the playoffs. Yeah. What about that culture? I mean, you have a culture of continued success, because you guys had a great run last year as well. Was that Final Four, or was that in the championship game as well?
Championship game. We lost in the finals to Frisco Wakeland.
Okay. So 2 years in a row, making it all the way to the state championship game, 1 in 5A, 1 in 6A. So how does that culture kind of convey? What are you guys doing to enhance that? Is that player led, coach led? What does that look like?
I think it's both. I mean, honestly, the kids, we have talented players that come through our program, but there's a lot of schools we played with talented programs, or like talented players in their program. But our kids, it's important. So a lot of these guys, maybe they play club, and that's their most important thing, and they just say, "Oh, we play high school for fun." But our kids come, and it's a program where the expectations are to win and be successful, and you see that in the way they train. They train, the same, if not harder, with us as they do when they go with their club team. So I think it's a lot of those guys. It's just the program. They want to just be a part of it, and they want to be successful.
And I believe also that it's a big part of this is Josh Hill. I think he comes in, and he is a fairly calm individual during practices and games, and so he's not beating them up for minor stuff. He lets them play, and he talks to them, and the boys respect that. And I think that is one of the big things. Is we had, I think, 2 starters from last year come back. The rest were all new starters, but some of them had been on the bench last year for the 5A championship game against Wakeland. And so I think, we've also had those kids are part of that experience, and that definitely helped with the culture. Is like, okay, been there, done that. Can we do it again? And but Josh was really good, I think, at the beginning of the year too, saying, listen, this is your team. For the seniors, you were watching plenty of seniors last year who led the team for almost 3 years. And so now it's your turn to lead the team. And it took them some games, but they stepped up in the end, and it was a fantastic run.
Well, that's the beauty of sports. I mean, you can have a slow start, you can have skids in the middle, and turn it around and get home at the right time. And playing your best late in the year is always a difficult thing, especially in my opinion, coaching a spring sport. And y'all aren't a spring sport because you start earlier, but you do finish up, towards the middle, to the end of spring with a playoff run. I've struggled with seeing a way to keep these kids engaged late in the year, because they get tired. High school kids get tired. Their school wears on. You don't see football and fall sports have issues with kids burning out because it's fresh, it's new. And you get towards the end of the year, and these kids are tired, and their friends are having pool parties, and they want to go do stuff after school, but they're still training and they're still playing and competing. What do you guys do to keep their focus late in the year, late in the season, and make them peak late come the end of district play and into the playoffs?
Well, it's hard too, because like you said, our kids are playing Falk Select winter, spring, high school, then right now they've all jumped back into that, so they don't get a lot of breaks. So I think I think one of the biggest thing that helps us is the stuff these kids do outside of soccer, like the team dinners that they enjoy hanging out with each other. And so if you're hanging out, if you're practicing with your friends, it makes it easier. And then sometimes just changing up practice a little bit, instead of doing something, maybe just throwing a couple fun games to get their minds off, the normal grind of everyday practice, and just trying to variety in training. But, them being able to hang out and enjoy each other's company outside of practice, I think it helps us down the stretch in those late season playoff runs and stuff like that.
The bus rides that you guys had on the way back seem to be taking on a little story of their own. What can you tell us about those?
Billy, you take that one.
Club scenes.
I was driving. I couldn't see what was going on.
After that first win with Westwood, the kids were so pumped because I don't think any of us really knew what was going to happen. And the fact that we scored in the last minute of the second overtime to send it to PKs, and then to win PKs was just phenomenal. And I think they were just jacked. We scored all 5 PKs. We get on the bus, and they had already brought a speaker with them. And so once we get on that bus, they just start jumping and singing. And that's like Josh said, it's just very cool. Like high school soccer, any high school sport, the kids get together, they have success, and they want to celebrate. So they just start singing songs, and they're jumping up, and they're taking pictures, and they're taking little Instagrams and videos and posting everything. That was for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And then Josh was like, we got to go. So then Josh was like, get him quiet. So I try to quiet them down. They get quiet, and then we start going back. Then we start coming back. But almost at every stoplight, they would get up and they would start jumping around again. We're very lucky no one ever stopped us or called on us, because it was pure excitement after every playoff win. And then we started taking pictures at least 2 or 3 pictures on the way back at every red light. They give me the camera, so I would take one long picture of the bus with all the kids and their hand signs for second round, third round, fourth round. And it was just became a little tradition and fun. And I think Nate Warner ended up bringing a disco light for the last couple ones as well. So we had a disco light going in the bus, and just pure fun. It's excitement. It's good to see. It was fun for me to see those kids excited, especially some of those kids who don't play a lot or who got very little play time in playoffs. Everybody was just buying into it. And that's a team sport. That's one big family having a good time.
Well, that's when you have the ultimate level of confidence, when you're bringing props for your post-game victory celebration.
Yeah.
And you brought up a good point too about the kids that may not have gotten a lot of playing time in the playoffs, but they still have a huge role on the team in practice, being energy guys on the sideline, and even on the bus, celebrating as hard as the guys that got those minutes.
Absolutely. I think that was, and I was telling Josh this after each playoff game, those kids, and I try to touch base with each of those kids at some point. I'd say, hey, really happy that you're on this ride, that you stuck with it, that you could have said, you know what, I'm done. Playoffs, I'm not going to get play time. I'm out of here. But every single one of them stuck with us, stuck with the team. And even the parents, and talking to the parents, like, they are having a blast. They are enjoying this ride. The fact that they get to say they were on this journey to the state final is something that they're always going to remember. They get a medal, they get pictures. All the seniors took one big picture with the trophy after the final match. And so that, again, it's a family, right? That's what I like to call it. And they bought into it. And that was huge for us as well, because those kids cheered and cheered every game and got excited with every positive move that we did on the field.
So where do you think this culture of success originally kind of started? Is that coming from the high school level? Does it start in the youth level with these kids coming up? Where does that begin, and where do you guys first see that implemented within Dripping Springs?
Well, soccer and a lot of sports are similar. I mean, I mean, their basis, I mean, their fundamentals, all that stuff is developed. I mean, so it's like, we don't ever say, oh man, we developed this kid, because you can't start playing soccer at 16 and just all of a sudden it's just, you've missed all the muscle memory, all that skill, all that training. It's just hard to get back. And so, like, these players are developing. They said the window for skill development for soccer players is like 7 to 12. Those are the most key years. And so, these kids, played a lot of soccer, did a lot of skill work, did a lot of stuff early on. And then, then they have that basis, and then they just keep getting better and better. And then, when they get to us, that it's just refining these skills, and also then, kind of put them into a more of a team setting and trying to win games.
So most of that player development that you're seeing does happen at the younger ages. Then that's not even.
It's so it's like, it's just the same kind of thing as like, kid doesn't just get thrown in AP English if he doesn't know how to read. All those things led up to it, and that's kind of how soccer is. You have to develop those skills early on, and then you can keep getting better and better.
Now, are those kids seeing more of like a small-sided game in the youth levels when they're
small-sided? Like, the ratio one ball per kid, it should be just touches, just as many different, skill improvements as they can happen. So, and that's actually me and Billy both. That's what we spend the evenings. We're not with high school soccer team. We're both heavily involved in the DSYSA, the academy programs there. So, and we got a bunch, and that was a pretty cool part of this too, is all those kids we coached, at the state finals, state semifinals, we're hearing, hey, Coach Billy, hey, Coach Josh. And there's, 40 kids that we coach from the youth level that came out and got to watch those kids. So it was pretty cool.
Super cool. What, so I know that you guys start pretty young. My daughter started doing soccer this past year. Did not go well. Nothing on you guys. She is more of the dancing gymnastics type. Team sports is just not her thing. The second the ball gets taken from her, she doesn't like it and shuts down. But I think it was 3s or 4s is when you guys start.
I think so. Yeah. We work with like the academy part. So it's like about 7 to 10, but
got it.
They start them at 3. I'm not sure, but 3 may be just a little early, but I mean, it makes for some good pictures, I guess. Yeah.
I think my son Enzo, we have a little soccer goal in the backyard and about 5 balls, and they're always kind of kicking around, but Zoe did not, it was not for her. She's more rhythmic, really good at dancing, but not soccer. One thing I kind of wanted to know, because, being the lacrosse coach, our world is a little bit different because we don't have the kids during the school day. So we do everything after school, and y'all are, with having class periods for sports and not really bleeding into the afternoon as much. What does a typical day look like? Because I want the listeners to understand how much work goes into high school athletics for these kids. This isn't just like show up for an hour, go home, play a game, whatever. Like, their whole day, and there's different training and different things that go into it with weight room and different on-field classroom things. So what does a typical, day look like for one of your athletes?
Well, a lot of it starts with academics. They get there early and they have a full class load. And so depending on the part of the season, sometimes we're, on the road, we're at tournaments, that sort of stuff. But typically we'll come in, we incorporate weight training into our not every day, but we vary it up. Soccer is a little different because we play Tuesday, Friday. And so the recovery for some of these kids, in a typical soccer game, it's not uncommon for a kid to run between 6 to 8 miles. And so the recovery, we have to incorporate recovery into our training as well. So we do a lot of recovery training, recovery practices. And then on top of that, we're trying to train and practice to get better. So, they'll come to see us 4th and 8th period. And then we'll usually try to get them out of there around 5:30. Some of those kids work part-time jobs too. We had actually quite a few of those too. So then they go do that, or some of them start club or still have tournaments going on. So sometimes they have that as well in the evening. So these kids are pretty busy for sure, especially when we're in season.
With do you guys? I'm just kind of curious. Like, I know that the 6 to 8 miles seems to be a commonly heard number. Do you guys do any like load management, run tracking with pedometers on them, or using?
No, we don't. We haven't really incorporated. We don't have really that technology yet. No, we haven't done that, but we do try and, if we, as best we can, try to, manage minutes at some point as we can. But then at the end of the day, it's not always possible.
Yeah, I was just curious with some of that tech. Another question I had too, you mentioned, and I thought this was really interesting, starting the season 2-8-2. I mean, you're 14 matches in at that point. What was that turning point with the kids? Like, I know just the psychology of a kid, it's real easy to throw in the towel.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened? What changed it? What kind of sparked them to continue on and push through to finish the season strong enough to have the opportunity to win 2 games to make the playoffs?
I mean, I think they just kept the belief. I mean, looking at the district, we had Lake Travis, who was at the time ranked first in the state. You got Westlake, that's always good. Bowie, which was the most talented team. And then you had a lot of teams that were good, but just weren't, that highly ranked. So that's what I basically just told them, guys, we have to win the games we're supposed to win. And then, we go play Lake Travis. It was after that snowstorm or not really snow, but that ice storm. So we ended up playing like 3 games in a row or something crazy like that. And we played Lake Travis and we were up 1-0 with about 8 minutes to go, give up a PK and then end up getting a red card and lose in the last 10 seconds of the game. And we were that close. And so these guys knew they could play with anybody. And then, they just confidence built. Schedule started to kind of become more favorable. We started to string, I think 5 wins together and then took a tough loss, man. It's not like, it was just smooth sailing. We took a tough loss to Bowie and then we just had to come back, man. It was like 4-0, I think. And we came back and knew we had to win the next game and they showed up and we played good and then just caught fire.
Was that just internal from these kids over the long haul of continued success within the program?
It's hard to say. I mean, because you've seen working with high school kids is one thing they're afraid of is looking. They always kind of want to say looking cool, but they don't want to look bad. And so, if you don't want to lose 4-0 and show up to school the next day and have to listen to, man, what happened? Why'd you, so it's really hard. So that's when you see kids check out because if it's no longer something but these kids did, man, they were able to, persevere and didn't take that mentality and put themselves in a situation to make the playoffs. That we knew once you get in, you got a shot. Especially the first round is so difficult because we've been the 1 seed for the last 5 years. And so just knowing that 4 seed, kids are new, nervous. Some kids never played a playoff game. So I knew we would have a chance. And I'm not saying I didn't know, but I knew we'd have a chance. And then, came out, played pretty well, caught a little break, scored a late goal, and then from there the dominoes just started falling. So
what do you guys have coming back for next year? I know you had a younger team this year, graduated a lot of seniors last year. What's the team look like for next year?
We're going to be returning, I think, 5 or 6 we started, I think, 5 sophomores and a freshman.
Okay.
We have a good freshman group, good sophomore group to build on, and not a big junior group, but some good juniors. But we did lose 2. York Merrill and Mason Russell were the 2 goal scorers. They both played forward, and I think they accounted for like 35 of our 51 goals. So that's going to be the biggest thing is find a way to put the ball in the back of the net for this next year's group. So,
well, what we learned this year is that you have some time in the beginning of the season to figure it out and then make sure you get it clicking by the time it really counts. What's going on with the off season? How does that look for summers? Are there any camps or any events that are going on that you guys like to let anyone know about with the academy or high school stuff or youth stuff?
Go ahead, Billy.
We run the week of camp for the Dripping Springs soccer program. The boys are, I think, the week before 4th of July, the last week of June, and then the girls will come in and they will run a soccer program for a week as well. Typically it's been together, but they've divvied them up this summer. So people can come register for that camp. And I believe it's 9 to 12, 4 days during the week. Then there's Austin Sports Academy where I run summer camps, soccer camps, and sports adventure camps. And so kids can come do some of those camps as well. And then there's also private training there at Austin Sports Academy. And then you might know somebody who does private training. So really the kids have a couple of options, but usually it's kind of not loosey-goosey, but a little bit more relaxed. And so the kids get to go do it. Some of our kids who play on the top level teams for club are probably traveling and playing in tournaments up at least through mid-June, if not the end of June sometimes. So they're pretty busy. So we would kind of want them to rest and enjoy the summer as well, and just kind of relax, let their bodies heal.
Well, that's one of the most underrated thought processes of sports, right? Always that more is better, but especially with younger athletes, I mean, you need time just mentally to reset things. I know I had a dad ask one year, there was like a 2-week gap between some fall lacrosse stuff and there's like summer lacrosse stuff and fall lacrosse stuff. Like, what should he be doing? I was like, does he like video games? Like, just be a kid.
Yeah.
Have some time, go swimming, do something. Where can we find info on that summer camp through the school? And then where can we find more info about the Austin Sports Academy?
The Austin Sports Academy, it's austinsportsacademy.com. And once you get there, you'll look for summer camps, and then you can go ahead and register. And if the camps are full, then we always have a wait list. And we typically have to pull from the wait list throughout the summer. So I would, if it is full, get on the wait list, and then you can always email us as well.
And
what about the one through the school?
Yeah, it's on the DSISD website. Most of the kids in the elementary, I think, got the flyer, and it has a list of all the different camps. So, but it can also be found on DSISD website.
Awesome. And do you have
Community services?
Do you have to be a Dripping Springs student to attend?
No, we get a bunch of kids from Wimberley and areas.
Awesome. Great. Well, awesome, guys. I really appreciate the time. Congratulations again on an outstanding season. It's one of the things we, with my lacrosse guys, we're entering the state playoffs this weekend, and we don't have a great record, but we have a path. And, I tell them, like, the path is in the math. We match up well. We can do this, and we're hoping to emulate you guys and pull a little bit about this. And selfishly, part of this interview is to hear some of your secret sauce and see what we can do this weekend. But yeah, it just shows if you get hot at the right time, you can do some things. And it was really impressive. And what I've been saying to these guys is it just makes your story better. It makes the story better in the end, and makes people want to listen to it. And Billy, I got to thank you too, man. You introduced me to Ryan Hunter last summer. He's been coaching with us all year, and he's been doing a fantastic job.
Yeah,
he's been great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one thing I'll just add, I think, which is kind of funny, because, people talk about soccer being the beautiful game at times, but our boys weren't really beautiful all the time. We were just gritty, right? Like, they just fought it out. And that was, again, just a big part of it too, is they bought into it, and Josh put them in a system of play, and they just fought tooth and nail. And at times it wasn't always pretty, but we got the job done.
Well, that's great. And that's usually what counts. And you can't really teach grit. You have it or you don't. And those are the kind of kids you want on the field. And I know as a fellow coach, it's kind of hard to quantify that to the other kids, or even sometimes to parents, and they want to run on statistics, or they want to run on, the things that make sense, but you can't always make sense of grit. You can't teach it. You can just see it. You can feel it. And that's where coaching really comes in. And that's where the decision-making is hard, but you guys clearly made the right moves this year. If anyone wants to reach out to y'all directly, how can they reach you? And is there a way to kind of follow the team going into next year, like team Instagram account or anything like that?
Yeah, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think the 3 of those are run by the Booster Club. Our Booster Club kind of runs it, but yeah, they can find it, or they can reach out, email us at our school email address. So it's just our first dot last name at dsisdtx.us, and we'll be happy to reach out and let you know can be any schedule or anything like that. But
well, great. Hopefully we can get some more fans out next year and get some players at those camps this summer and keep you guys busy. So, thanks again for coming on, and we really appreciate what you do for the community with these kids. And congrats, guys. This is a hell of a run, and we're real proud the whole town is proud of you guys. The whole town is rooting for you, and we hope we can get another run next year.
All right. We appreciate it, and good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kath, thanks for setting this up. Really appreciate it. And yeah, best of luck.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys. Talk soon.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Sold on Drip podcast. Please hit that subscribe button, so you don't miss out on any future episodes. If you would like to connect, learn more about Dripping Springs, or have any questions regarding Central Texas real estate, you can find me at soldondrip.com or on Instagram at Bill Cafferetta. I hope to see you around town.